Well, I try not to record videos like this, but as this raid was done with my Xbox S while I was not home, we went ahead and restreamed it so that we could go ahead and get all the footage. However, that does mean that we're missing all the audio with it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and like. I'm going to do my best to do a voiceover over this one like I did the very first one. See you guys at the end. God, I sound fat as fuck when I'm breathing this headset. Alright, so just so you guys know, there was a bunch of other small tribes that were basically getting bullied by this tribe. We were kind of ignoring everybody on server for a little bit, and these guys just kind of popped in and took over one of Ice's old Ratholes. Did not go well for them once they started fucking with people, but we took care of the problem. As you guys can see, we started this off by dropping some turtles into their base to see if their turrets were on tames of players. Luckily for us, at the beginning of this, every single turret, tech turrets and heavies were put on tames and players, which means that this could happen. A little tip for anybody who's new to the game: take your shit off of tames and players, put it on players only. This shit right here is what happens when you don't. At this point, we had been throwing turtles into their base for about 20 to 30 minutes, and we heard one of them teleport in, so I went ahead, headed back to base to go get a small little fob just in case they decided to push back. I would end up coming in from the side entrance behind the waterfalls. Basically, there's a cave that loops around. Ended up setting in a fob just inside the little opening to the right upper side of their rat hole, so that we had a place to lock down just in case they decided to come out and PvP with us. Basically, around this time, Jacoby was outside. The guy had come out and started PvPing with him, so Jacoby ended up getting picked off his wyvern. He jumped out of the pick, either using grapples or a punch, I'm not sure, but his wyvern did get cooked, so he looped around on the backside, and this is what happens. It would be right around the time that I would get this up that Jacoby would come flying in with the guy right on his ass with a wyvern, so it's a good thing I managed to get 5 or 6 heavies up because it lit him up. The guy did end up surviving this. Apparently 6 or 5 heavies shooting at him is not enough to kill a wyvern. I'm assuming it was a pretty high health wyvern because I also soaked a bunch of bullets with a couple wyverns. But yeah, he did end up surviving this, and now he knew our fob was down. At this point, a second member of their tribe had logged on, and they had both decided to come out and try and PvP us. This was not their best decision. In this fight right here, we managed to pick both of them. We ended up killing the first guy. The second guy got out once, and then I believe I picked him a second time. I believe he got out the second time as well, and Jacoby did end up cooking the wyvern after a little bit of a scuffle in the air. At this point, they had kind of gotten wise to our turtles and had started altering their turret settings to try and keep us from being able to turtle soak their base, but when we would try and drop Arthros, they would once again switch everything back to tames to kill the Arthros, so that was ineffective. So at this point, me and Jacoby had basically just decided to keep an eye on them for a few minutes and decide whether or not we needed to try stegos. They had left the Thylaco unaggressive to deal with the turtles, anything else that we might drop on the base, and in the process, I had managed to lure it off the cliff into the water below. At this point, I had decided to break a few enemy foundations that were close to the front of our fob and start spamming our own foundations for more area control. At this point, as it got dark, the tech helmet would give us a good view of what we were dealing with on the bottom half of this little cliff. Most of their turrets were on the exterior though, so we knew we could handle it. At this point, they tried to push 2 turrets up the cliff to prevent us from being able to fly in and out. So we got our first stego out and we proceeded to soak these turrets. 200 bullets apiece is not a lot. Making my way down the cliff with the stego to try to start soaking their towers, I would end up slipping off the side and we would have our first actual view of how many defenses we would be dealing with, along with our first death. While waiting for me to spawn in, Jacoby would end up dropping another turtle on their base. Realizing that they had put their turrets back on tames of players, this was a good play. At this point, a member of their tribe would start trying to snipe me and Jacoby from the left upper corner of their base. This would be a bad play on his half because all it would do is give us a chance to shoot him, kicking off a pretty intense sniper fight where both of us couldn't hit shit. At this point, after a few minutes of us sniping back and forth, he would get on the Thylaco and start trying to bleed the turtle out. In the process, me and Jacoby would both be trying to snipe him off the back of the Thylaco, and for some reason, no matter how many times we hit this guy, it wouldn't kill him. I'm not saying that I'm good with a sniper, because I'm definitely not, but I definitely hit this dude like 15 fucking times in this total clip. And Jacoby was hitting him a lot more than I was, so I don't know. It's easy to hit the Thylaco, it's apparently really difficult to hit the player. At this point, we would start getting the real fun started. I went to get 8 stegos and multiple sets of flak so that we could end up rocket running this base. This would actually be the most effective strategy, and it would take multiple stegos and multiple sets of rocket launchers and rockets, but we would end up doing massive damage with this. We would also implement some good stego soaking, trying to take care of more of the tech turrets so that there was less of the tech turrets shooting me whenever I would drop down with rockets off and on. This was not a common thing we did, but it was mixed in along with the stego rocket runs. Also, for those of y'all that didn't know, don't try to tech punch a stego, because this might happen to you. They had started placing a lot of bear traps on the base at this time, and at this moment I was unaware that bear traps did not dismount you from the stego. I knew that they would grab the stego, but I was unaware that they would not dismount you. Apparently, whenever you're on a stego, you don't get dismounted by bear traps like you would on literally everything else. You just get held in place. So I was trying to avoid them. Stego Run 4 wouldn't go as planned, as they started basically using the wing flap on the Wyvern and picking me to drop me and get me out of soaking range and rocket range of their base, which on their half was smart, so we just decided to go ahead and go back to base and try to weight down the Stego a lot. With the weight added to the Stego, they couldn't pick me and they couldn't get me off this ledge without getting behind me, and Jacoby was keeping them busy in the air, which gave me a moment to breathe. At this point, they would end up bringing out a big bug, which was honestly a weird decision considering it was a weight bug, but I mean, it worked out for him because he did manage to actually pick me and drop me, and then on another run, he picked Jacoby and ended up dropping Jacoby in the base. But those were the only 2 kills that he basically got with the bug. Other than that, the moment we got it out of turret range, it died. While Jacoby was waiting on a respawn timer, I decided to keep soaking. In the process, I basically ended up getting knocked off by a snow owl, but he ended up knocking me into a location where I had an advantage to be able to shoot all of their turrets, showing us a major weakness with their base. On this particular rocket run, I would end up destroying a large portion of the outer turrets on their base, basically opening up for us to be able to get closer and closer and die slower. I ended up destroying about 10 heavies and about 6 tech turrets by dropping these outer supports. On this rocket run, I would also end up doing a lot of damage. They kept putting bullets in this tech turret that they had put on the ledge above where I was positioning the stego to drop down, and it kept becoming a problem. It was frying my flak basically every single time because it had a higher choke point. I think I would end up soaking it at some point, but I'm unsure when. On this particular run, there would be multiple drops with the same outcome. Each time the bug would end up throwing me off the cliff, and Jacoby would play recovery with me on the stego and then drop me right back on the base, up until the point where either my flak, my rockets, or my stego were low. I'm pretty sure, yeah, in the clip it's shown that the stego has 7,000 health, so this was definitely a retreat because we were trying to keep stuff alive, obviously. At this point, they were getting incredibly desperate. We're unsure as to how much they were actually losing or how much stuff they actually have in total. We know they have other bases, but throwing out a car char is not a good idea whenever it doesn't have a saddle, and they were basically playing like a bunch of blobs trying to defend us. At this point, we were doing so much damage with each drop that it was basically becoming impossible for them to defend against it, so they're out of resort, or basically out of desperation. They activated a tech force field to try and keep us back, and all this did was buy them a few minutes because I flew back to base to get a capped out tech rifle, and then we obliterated the tech shield. But when they activated it, every time I shot a rocket while I was inside of it, it would do absolutely nothing. So yeah, they ended up cooking me right here. To be fair, I just kept unloading rockets. There was nothing I could do. Couldn't get out, couldn't get in, couldn't move, couldn't fight, just stuck there. Unfortunately, this would end up being my last rocket run of the night as I had to go. I was in a bit of a time crunch for this anyways. Jacoby would end up actually finishing up the raid by himself. I do believe Apollo or Ollie got on later, but he ended up clearing everything on the outside and getting stuttered on the inside and completely fucking this base up by himself after I left. I guess they were either unmotivated, I don't know if they stayed on to defend or not, but we ended up clapping basically everything they threw out, and obviously Jacoby hit a good kill on that car truck. I apparently didn't get the recording or missed it in the footage, but there was a point where I had stopped a wyvern mid-air and killed it with the bleed, the tail effect of the stego, and an RG. So yeah, I wish I had gotten that in there, but I couldn't find it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe and hit that like button if y'all did. I really do appreciate the support, guys. And sorry about the lack of videos. I am currently in school, and it will be like this for 8 weeks, where I kind of minimize how much I'm uploading. But just show your support, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.